Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Community Connection with Eva and Nisha. This is the show where we showcase what community means to people in Peterborough, the challenges our community faces and how we can all make it stronger. And the thing we're most passionate about on Community Connection is that connection. We really want people to get involved, to tell us what's important to them and their communities. And we try and talk about things that are important to you at home. So please do let us know what you think. You can drop us a message on Facebook or on YouTube, or you can send us a message on 07411 191 062, or you can even give us a call in the studio if you'd like to be on the show. And that is on 01733 602 133. But we haven't been on in a month, so for anyone who's tuning in for the first time, my name's Eva. I am a youth voice and policy worker from Peterborough. I do bits in local government, I do bits out in the charity sector, and my main passions are opportunities for young people and helping new and upcoming community groups to get their foot in the door. And you all know Nisha, who's here with me. Assalamu alaikum, Nisha.
Wa alaikum salam, Eva, and everyone.
Remind me who you are.
I think you're all bored now, so everyone knows me really. So it's Nisha. I work at Peterborough City Council. I have various hats. Love working in the community as a volunteer as well. Got my fingers in different pies. And I'm communities manager as well as do cohesion work within the City Council as well as other projects.
Oh, amazing. And we've got a very special topic to talk about today that's close to both of our hearts, which is opportunities for young people. And we're very lucky to have as our guest in the studio Haider Ali. Assalamu alaikum, how are you?
Wa alaikum salam, all good, not too bad. Yourself?
Yeah, alhamdulillah, glad to be here. So tell us a little bit about yourself to start us off. You are from Result Training, but you've also been involved in lots of different things. How would you introduce yourself?
So my name is Haider Ali. I'm 25. I'm from Birmingham originally, born and bred. I run and manage a forklift training company. Pretty much.
That's him in a nutshell, but we are going to delve into what he does.
Yeah.
So he's our first guest, and he's lovely because he's a little bit shy before he came on the show. But there's so much more that we're going to talk about, and we're going to connect it with the stuff that we're doing. So this show is going to be about the landscape of youth work in Peterborough and surrounding areas, because there is a massive gap and there's a massive need. And what we've done is we've tried to bring some content on so we can discuss what youth work looks like in Peterborough, what's good, what's not good, this like little projects that we're doing with our professional hats on, and how Haider's forklifting business can fit into some of that as well. So he's a very successful guy, young lad, done a lot for the age that he is. Most of you, mashallah, might know his father, Jambo, Brother Jamshed. So a really nice guy to come and talk about his own experiences, because some of our lads in the community, I'm hoping, can relate to his story as well. And he's a real success story. So we will go back and delve into some of that stuff. But the reason why we kind of thought of this was because we are doing some work with the City Council. There's a conversation wider nationally about funding coming into the city and being pumped into the city for our youth. There's some of the pilot projects we can talk about a bit later. But with Haider, so if I just ask you, what age, what was your schooling? Did you do GCSEs? If you talk a little bit about that.
So with studying, school was the final bit for me.
Yeah.
I didn't manage to get through college or university or anything like that.
Yeah.
So after school, 16, that was it with education, and then moving towards the working life.
So then you delved into this business, which
Yeah.
is very successful. So I have visited the unit. I've gone there and I was quite mesmerised that this one chap was running the whole show. So talk about a little bit about what the training is, how you did. Did you do the training first to get to know it?
So with myself, I was a forklift operator, so using them in warehouses, and then it was all about thinking, moving on, the next step, become a forklift instructor, and then slowly but surely just kept progressing with there, and then opening a unit, I've been doing it since I was 18. I've been an instructor since I was 18, yeah.
Wow. And you are a driving instructor as well,
Yeah,
I
I'm a
must
driving
mention.
instructor.
So, mashallah, he's doing that on the side hustle. But yeah, so you've done the training for the forklift, and then you've come into the business, as in built the business from scratch.
Yep.
Bought the premises, and I'm assuming you stay because the unit's in Peterborough, isn't it?
Peterborough, yeah.
Yeah. So how many sort of people do you train up, maybe monthly?
So I've not actually sat there and calculated it.
Yeah.
You could say I come up every week, so
Yeah.
I'd come for 3-4 days. I'd stay here and then travel back, see the family,
Yeah.
get tired of them, come back again.
Oh, and congratulations! Recently got married.
Thank you very much.
He's a
Alhamdulillah.
family man.
Alhamdulillah. Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, mashallah, like done well and now got settled. But that's commitment for you, isn't it?
Of course it is.
And I think, like I said, a success story for young lads who may not want to pursue the route for college or university or whatever it is. This is an example of where you can, if you really want to do something, you can get up and do it. And the business is yours now. That's your baby. And
Yeah.
So.
It is, yeah.
So when I went to visit the unit, he was training a lot of people. They've got their unit where they've got the instructors and he's the instructor, but they were doing their training course there. Very professional. They've got a bit where he actually has to do like a theory test, isn't it?
Yeah, so there's 2 parts to it. So you've got your overall training. You start from scratch and then work your way right towards the end. On the final day, you'll have a theoretical exam and a practical exam.
Yeah.
But by the time they get to that last day, the knowledge is there. So
Okay. So let's talk about that a little bit. With regards to the training course, how long is it for?
So depending on experience, so if we go on someone that's just a beginner, you're looking at anywhere between 3 to 5 days of training.
Okay.
Why we say 3 and 5, it all depends on how many people are on the course at the same time.
Okay. And that's not with the theory, right? Like, is that including the theory?
That includes everything, yeah.
Oh, that's quite good. That's a really nice offer.
It's a good turnaround.
Yeah. And Peterborough does have a lot of forklift jobs available.
Yeah.
So in terms of our kind of clientele, like the community, we have a lot of asylum seekers and refugees who have English as a second language. And we have youngsters. Like, for me, when I saw that, I was like, not only from the example that you gave about yourself, but there are a lot of, I could say, boys that might find this attractive because it's a quick course. You get the certificate at the end of it. And what is the prospects after you've got the certificate?
So after you get your certificate, as you mentioned, Peterborough's quite industrial. So finding a job around here, it's not really a challenge. It's not hard at all. And then, whoever comes for the license, if they're looking to expand their collection, they could, further it with other qualifications, so other machinery, and then just moving up.
And how long does that certificate last?
So the certificate itself lasts for 3 years.
Okay.
You'd come in and then do a refresher, which is like a day's course.
That's good. And you keep in touch with your clients when they start it.
Well, what an amazing opportunity that Peterborough has jobs that are aligned in a particular industry that is naturally of interest to a lot of boys who sometimes there isn't a lot out there for. And I'm really interested, what drew you yourself to working as a forklift operator? What made that stand out as an option to you, given school wasn't for you, if I'm right in saying that?
Yeah. So like you mentioned, it appeals to a lot of people. So being young and not driving, or I was driving, I can't really remember. I think I was driving, but it's just another thing. So if someone's not driving, it's like very similar. It's like for a boy, it's like a little toy, isn't it? So it appeals to you when you're a lot younger, even to the older people as well. But yeah, that's why I got into it. And plus, my father was pushing me at the time as well.
I mean, the closest I can think of, and I'm just bringing my boring stuff in, my little penny pence worth, is, when you go on holiday back home, and then there's tuk-tuk, little truck, we all have a go here, right?
Yeah, of course.
Like, with boys, they like quad bikes. They like, if you could get a moped, I know a lot of guys, they might not admit it, but they'll go and try it and run it down the field or whatever. But it is quite fun, isn't it?
Of course
it's like forklifting is a fun thing for someone who might not want to be in the desk job, say, for instance.
Doesn't want a job where you sat down. And I mean, my day work at the moment is a lot around youth unemployment, and one of the biggest things that we've found in working with young people who face barriers to education and employment is that the biggest step and the place where so many young people get stuck is figuring out what they enjoy and what they're good at, because getting a job opportunity or a training opportunity is a lot of deferred gratification, right? You've got to go through that daunting process of applying to hundreds of jobs and hearing back from hardly any. You've got to commit to not earning as much as you could whilst you're on a longer term course. And if you haven't figured out what it is that you're passionate about, or even just what brings you joy and gets you out of bed in the morning, then it's really hard to make that sacrifice. And if the thing that I guess sparks joy for you is doing something that reconnects you to your childhood, or just feels a bit fun, but also you know it's important and you know that there's opportunities attached to it, then that's the most important and the most difficult thing to figure out. We're gonna play a short nasheed now, but we will be back with you in a moment.
Allahu, 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 Allah, Allahu, 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 Allah, Allahu, 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 Allah, Allahu, 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 Allah. الصبح بدا من طلعته والليل دجا من وفراته. الله 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 الله. كنز الكرم مولى النعم هادي الأمم لشريعته. الله 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 الله. سعتي الشجر نتقى الحجر شق القمر بإشارته. الله 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 الله. جبريل أتى ليلة أسرى ورب دعا في هدرته. الله 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 الله. فمحمدنا هو سيدنا والعز لنا بإجابته. الله 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 الله. لا إله إلا الله.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Community Connection with Eva and Nisha. This is the show where we talk about what community means to people in Peterborough. And a reminder, please do get in touch with us. We're talking about youth opportunities and youth work, and we're going to be doing a bit of reminiscing about, I guess, what good youth work looks like to us, and we want to hear your stories too. So give us a call on 01733 602 133 if you want to share your memories. But I'm here with Nisha and Brother Haider from Result Training today, and we've spoken a bit about Result Training and the work they do with training young people and all kinds of people as forklift operators and with other skills, and the importance of different opportunities that suit different people. But there are some universal truths about what good opportunities for young people look like. And I guess if I think about what good youth work means to me, I'm a youth voice worker. I got into my job because of Youth Voice, because people who have been around long enough will know that I used to be Peterborough's Youth MP, and before that I was in the Youth Council, and before that I did some work with Jumped Up Theatre, and Youth Voice is really what got me where I am and built my confidence. And I think to me, good youth opportunities, it's about helping young people to think for themselves and helping young people to, I guess, feel a sense of ownership over their community, feel connected to their place, because otherwise young people sometimes move away or they stay locally, but they don't feel like they belong in Peterborough or wherever they are. And for me, it was being asked what I thought about Peterborough that made me care about this place, and that has made me, inshallah, I'd like to think a better person and a more considerate person. But Nisha, what does good youth work mean to you when you think about it?
I think it's interesting because so I'm second generation Asian, background, brought up in a family business with my mum and dad in a restaurant business. So we worked from a young age, but we still had a really good childhood because we used to play freely. There was safety. So we were safe. If we went out on the green, we played football in the back with my brother and stuff. It was all safe. Whereas now I feel like the children don't have that aspect. You hear about social media, you hear about all sorts of nasty things happening. But I was brought up in Saffron Walden, so the landscape was very different, and it was a very, would say behind in terms of real slow, but it was kind of a very English middle class area where we had gardens and stuff to go to, and like we had the maze, the common, and the croft, and so what looks good to you, there's like a decade between us. So when I speak to people in Peterborough, their idea of good youth work is like the Hobsons. A lot of the brothers that I speak to, they speak about, we had the Hobsons, we were able to play freely. We had, like, the Gladstone Park was there at one point where they had a lot of organisations coming in and took us for trips and things like that. And that's what looks like good youth work. And we're trying to, with the work that I'm going to talk about a bit later in the show, we're trying to replicate that again to see what was good about that stuff that we can reinvent the wheel for again, because we've lost that for our youngsters. Like, if you talk to the generation now about what good youth work looks like, they're on iPads and stuff. So I think there's a lot of work on trying to make them feel safe to come out again, let alone, like the basics of what that bit of the portion of what does good youth activity look like. That comes 3 steps down the line because of COVID. I think we've actually stepped back. But that's my idea. But Heather, what about you? Because you've brought up Birmingham, right?
Of course,
so it'll be interesting.
It's completely different as well.
Yeah.
So I think good youth work would be connection, having that connection to one person, like when you grow up and when there was youth clubs and you'd remember certain memories.
Yes.
And I think, obviously, time's gone on and youth clubs have closed and down. And like you mentioned, socialisation as well. I think, the iPad stuff as well. So, bringing the community together is the biggest thing. It's about knowing each other as well.
Yeah,
I think that's a big thing as well, especially growing up in Birmingham. The areas are quite big as well. But having the youth club and, socialising, you find out you know everyone around you.
But I do find, so my sister's from Birmingham, but there's like boxing clubs everywhere, there's football clubs everywhere, and they're affordable, so it's like 50p a session, things like that. So I'm not saying it's like better than Peterborough, but Peterborough doesn't seem to have that accessibility to clubs like that, and I think that's where our job comes in, where the funding needs to be pumped into those organisations, and we're working on it. there's certain groups that we're trying to identify. We can talk about that a bit later on. But
the cost is such a big barrier, absolutely, because as you said, Nisha, I grew up more recently, and I guess I was lucky to have lots of experiences in my childhood through sports clubs and things like that, but I guess it always cost money, and it was always a decision that your family has to make when I was growing up, definitely, because this open access provision just wasn't really around, and if it was, then it would have tight eligibility criteria attached to a certain funding stream. And I guess that's the other thing about now, if we want to make things free to young people, we have to tie it into a particular agenda, a particular funding agenda, and that usually means that what we can do is very narrow, or it means that we can work with a very narrow group of people who sometimes somebody who's not actually from Peterborough has asked us to focus on. And it's important that, again, from my perspective as a youth voice worker, that young people are able to tell us what they actually want. And when things are free, people vote with their feet. If you put on a trip that no one wants to go on, no one's going to go. And you learn by trial and error, rather than people having to, I think sometimes now people get funding to do stuff and then they struggle to fill the spaces because it's not actually something that people want to do.
But I think that's where it comes down to the fact that we haven't got relatable youth workers anymore. There's a massive gap. There's been a decrease in the industry where career progression isn't there. Like, youth work isn't there. So now you've got clubs that are there run by volunteers, like Eva, like myself. You probably went to those where you probably had a couple of uncles running it off their own back because they thought there's a need and we want better for our kids and stuff. For me, the passion for getting into youth work and stuff is when my own children, like I looked at my own children and thinking, these guys are doomed because there's nothing available. But I must say, when I came to Peterborough, there's a lot more than what I had where we previously were. Like Football Wrestling, have to mention that name. But like, things like that. And then you've got all these grassroots level organisations that we mentioned. FC Football, Next Gen Football, Top Yard. Wakas is doing some boxing sessions.
Wakas
That's your uncle?
Yeah, my cousin.
Your cousin,
yeah,
sorry.
He's my cousin, yeah.
Shout out to your cousin.
Yeah, Wakas.
He's got some good plans, inshallah.
Yeah, inshallah.
But there's these people in the community, like we've mentioned before, that want to do good stuff, and it's my job and your job, Eva, to kind of identify. It's not even a job, it's a passion, isn't it?
Yeah.
We want to do it from the bottom of our heart. So we can talk about the boring stuff where the funding's coming in and things like that a bit later on, but that is important. The boring stuff is where we get things done.
Exactly. And we actually have a lot of knowledge about what works because we sit here a lot of the time, those of us who work in community work or who work in local government or different government agencies, we do reminisce about the good old days, or I listen to people reminisce about the good old days because I don't think I grew up in the good old days, but we talk about it a lot, and to be honest, we know what works a lot of the time. We know what good looks like, and we could potentially revive some of that, but also the context has changed a bit. I mean, Nisha, you speak about your kids, and I've got a younger brother, and I work with young people, and I read a report a few years ago that said it was a really high percentage of young people who spend a lot of time in their bedrooms. I won't tell you the exact figures because I don't remember them, but I've got a feeling it was over 50% of young people spent over 50% of their time in their bedroom, their free time. And it's really hard as people who want to work with young people to reach young people when they're not out and about. Detached youth work looks different. We're not finding young people hanging around in parks or things like that. There are some, but there are also lots of young people who really need support who are invisible.
Yeah, so that's what we talk about, how youth work in the urban areas. What's good in urban areas is not always what's good in a rural area, because with the rural areas, I'm very mindful of equal access and stuff when it comes to funding and thinking about those. So with the youth sector forum that one of my colleagues has developed, Mohammed, through his work at the city council, like we've got groups from the rural areas that are saying that the kids that are with them, our challenges are isolation and actually getting access. That's a big thing, whereas our kids in the urban areas, there's access, but it's actually it's also mental health as well, confidence. I think because of COVID they've lacked confidence, and like we've put on a couple of sessions, haven't we, Eva, and like no one's turned up. So we have to work extra hard to make it appealing, to get past that barrier of feeling safe, making sure that they've got that confidence about their body, dysphoria, all that sort of stuff. And then getting them out to do sports, that's like another barrier.
It's relationships, and they take time to build, and you have to be consistent. You have to be there every week when you said you were going to be there. And as you said, Brother Haider, it's about the kind of trusted adults, the familiar people, the people who mentor you and guide you through that turbulent journey towards adulthood. Well, we're having an amazing conversation around youth opportunities, and we're going to be here for the next half an hour. We're going to go for a short ad break now, but we want to hear from you, so give us a call on 01733 602 133. Tell us what your experiences of youth work were growing up. We're going on a short ad break, but we will be back with you very soon. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Stay tuned to Salaam Radio after this short ad break.
Dreaming of starting your own business but not sure where to begin? The Progressive Business Network is here to help. Each month we connect aspiring entrepreneurs with experienced business owners to share stories, strategies and the steps to turn ideas into reality. Don't just think about it. Take your first step today. Visit progressivebusinessnetwork.co.uk. Progressive Business Network, where business ideas grow.
Could you spare a few hours each month to provide support to people who are going through tough times? If so, Peterborough Samaritans are looking for volunteers who are empathetic and open-minded, and we'd love to hear from you. We run regular information sessions where you can find out more about what it means to volunteer for Samaritans. If you are at least 18 years of age and would like to know more, please email volunteer@peterboroughsamaritans.co.uk.
What do children at Bright Bambini Montessori Nursery say about us?
I love my teachers and friends.
At Bright Bambini Montessori, we sprinkle confidence, independence, and stir the love of learning. From 18 months to 5 years, free funded places available.
Come join in the fun.
Call Bright Bambini Montessori on Peterborough 306565 or visit bbmc.uk.
Ayada Care Limited provide quality and compassionate care at home support services, respecting the cultural, linguistic and religious backgrounds of those we care for. We find out exactly what our clients need, then match our trained Ayada staff to meet their personalised yet affordable care plans, promoting independence and mental health well-being. Call 01733 666 801 to speak with registered manager Iqbal Manji, or visit ayadacare.co.uk for details.
It's healthy, nutritional and halal. It's The Lads, your first choice for burgers, pittas, wraps and flame-grilled lamb chops and peri-peri chicken. Now with 5 fantastic new flavours, plus sides, grilled salads and milkshakes too. Open daily from 11:30 until 11 p.m. Call in at 15 Cowgate in Peterborough. Order for collection online at thelads.co.uk or by calling Peterborough 562287 or place your Lads delivery order at ubereats.co.uk.
Do you own a restaurant or takeaway? Cater Fair is an expert supplier of new and used commercial catering equipment. Visit caterfair.co.uk for quality equipment on sale at the lowest prices, or call us on 01733 310 115 or visit us at 11 Royce Road, Fengate, Peterborough.
Peterborough's community radio station, Salaam Radio, 106.2 FM.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Community Connection with Eva and Nisha. If you're just tuning in, this is the show where we talk all about what community means to people in Peterborough, some of the amazing community groups who are working here, some of the issues and the challenges that people feel passionate about and want to see a change in. And today I'm here with my wonderful co-host Nisha, and we have a fantastic guest as well, Brother Haider from Result Training, and we've been talking a bit about what Result Training do, and we'll return to that, but actually what we've been mostly talking about is youth opportunities in Peterborough, and what's changed over the years and what we miss from the good old days. And we really want to hear from you, so please give us a call on 01733 602 133 if you've got thoughts you want to share, or you can send us a text, or you can drop us a message on Facebook or YouTube. Let us know what you think. But a lot's been happening in the youth opportunities landscape over the past few years. I think there's been a lot of issues that have been popping up in the community around mental health for young people, access to jobs and opportunities, even more recently things like knife crime as well, sadly. When we don't invest in our young people, it comes back to us when they reach adulthood, or even before they've reached adulthood, when we don't put that work into making sure that our young people are properly supported. So what's been amazing is we've seen some of the organisations who have carried on fighting the good fight over the past couple of decades, who have suddenly been able to access funding and grow really quickly. We've seen funding opportunities come up through local government and through national opportunities. A lot's changing very fast, and there's a few things going on that we are really proud of, aren't we, Nisha?
Yeah, definitely. So with on a local level, so Eva and I are quite involved in this work. So during Ramadan, we went to Nottingham for consultation where Youth UK were talking about the plans for the government to invest in more money, pump more money for the next 10 years, I think it was, over a sporadic 3 to 2 years, drip feeding money into the youth sector on a national level. But there's a lot of consultation and mapping going around. And even on a local level, we've had the NYA come in just to see what's good, what's not good, so they can feed into that. And that's what the importance is of consultation. So it's really important that our groups do come forward. And I have had a couple of groups that have been very, very involved in this. And when they were, these things take time. So about a year ago, we had a consultation at City College. And from that consultation, the money for the pilot came into the city. For the youth sector, which allowed us to form the youth sector forum. So a number of groups regularly go to a breakfast club at the Posh Stadium where Eva and I go there, and there's some money available. So a few groups, quite a good few number, I think about 20 groups got some money from the youth pilot. Again, it's a pilot, so it's a short-term sort of quick money for a few months of delivery, for about 4 to 5 months of delivery. Which runs out in July, but you might want to just make a note that a few of these organisations are delivering these sessions, so do get in contact with them. So 3 of our masjids have, because this is Salaam Radio, I think I'll talk a little bit more about that. So 3 of our masjids, Gausia, Fazana Medina and Khadija Mosque, have had some funding for this youth pilot, and they're putting on sessions like on a weekly basis. So if you do have any children between the age of 11 and 19, young people, then do contact them, and by all means get involved as well. They're always looking for volunteers. So I'm very much involved in Fazana Medina, and we've got an Alton Towers trip coming up, so we're quite excited. I think it's our first trip from the masjid for the madrasa girls and boys, and that's coming up in a couple of weeks' time. So yeah, like there's a lot of going on, but because of that, we've had people like I will mention him, Brother Wakas, come forward to do boxing sessions for the youth, for the boys at the youth club. So it's kind of stemmed on to other projects. Does that make sense? So people have come forward, saying that we want to be involved. I don't mind being a volunteer for the future of the youth club, and that's what we want. We want sustainability. So after the money runs out on the 31st of July. like the plan is that the boxing sessions are going to carry on there, like every fortnight. There's only people like Brother Wakas can deliver that, and he's doing it because he wants to do it and it's his passion. So that's the kind of investment we need from out of the community back into the community, and we can do that together, you know, and that will open up doors and opportunities for the future. But it all goes back to that thing about sustainability, because we can always inject pots of funding into the sector, and I can by all means like teach people how to apply for the funding, but there has to be an element of being creative and bringing that in as well. And I always say, don't do things for free. You can put a charge on it, because come on, like in our society, like how much do we spend on fast food? If you calculate that on fast food, the amount of kebabs we eat, like if we have £30 a month for sessions for your child, for their well-being, fitness, health, to go to a youth club, then how much more beneficial mentally is that for that child, physically? Or you can't put a measure on that really. So I think it's about us as a community thinking differently as well.
It's about different people who have a stake in it investing, because as we've said, it comes back to the whole of society. If we're not looking after our young people, it comes back in terms of crime, it comes back in terms of pressure on the NHS when people's health deteriorates, it comes back on the economy when young people aren't able to get jobs. So it's important that we as parents invest in our young people. It's important that employers invest in our young people. I mean, Brother Haider, I think a lot of your funding comes from businesses who pay for people to train, doesn't it? I mean, what would be your message around, I guess, investing more in young people's skills?
So, investing in young people's skills, So, it comes down to, the biggest thing is, like you was mentioning, the funding and stuff like that as well, and, you know, giving back to the community. But it's mainly the community knowing that there's something there for them. So, like you mentioned, right, we don't rely on the funding at the moment itself at all. So we deal with, you know, we deal with a lot of refugees that do come in. They, you know, they pay for themselves, come on the course and get the developing skills to give themselves a chance in life. So, what was your question again?
I guess, what are your thoughts on the need to share the responsibility for investing in young people so that we don't get too reliant on grant funding when it ebbs and flows? What's the role for employers in investing in young people, and parents and other stakeholders who stand to benefit when we get this right?
So when the funding, when it goes through, it comes down to consistency, right? So giving back, it's not just about getting the funding and not doing nothing with it. So it's about reinvesting that back into the community, giving opportunity to the youth itself, i.e. myself. So even though we provide the training, we also want to be able to push them towards a job. So, you know, we want to give them that element, okay, now it's...
So with your, what I liked about your business model is the fact that you've got MOD coming to you for training people up. So MOD and Ministry of Defence is a big one. It's a big, credible civic service. So the fact that they're coming to you, it shows that you're reputable as an organisation. So to have training from an organisation like Result Training is an investment of a unitary value of what, about 400 quid?
Yeah, of course.
That lasts you for 3 years, and then, like you said, you can top your skills up again. But you also have relationships with recruiters as well.
Yeah, of course.
Recruiters are coming to you all the time. Reed Partnership are sending their young people to you as it is. So this is a great model that's already working. So for someone like me, when I see that and I think, do you know what, forklifting is attractive to young guys. And so how I met Eva, so we go back a few steps. Eva was 16 and we did football sessions for girls only at Gladstone Park, and I worked for Community First at the time, and we did voluntary projects, but we were always looking, so we did a bit of a drop-in session at Gladstone Park for young lads like who were out of school or had been kicked out of TDA sort of thing. But had I had this forklifting course then, we would have probably as a project invested in that for a young person to be focused, because that's what they need. A young person, sometimes I know a lot of people are like, yeah, it's about needs and wants and the voice of the young person, and I totally get that, but right now I feel like there's a bit of young people have no direction whatsoever, where they have lack of direction, and a lack of confidence in themselves, that sometimes in that sort of scenario, I know some young people behave good by saying, like, it's better for them to say, this is available, focus on it and do it. And then later on in life, they might change their mind. And that's all right. That's all right to change your mind. Because
it's blank page syndrome, isn't it? Because I think what we find a lot with, I mean, Nisha said that there's been a lot of shift in the landscape around opportunities for young people. So as you mentioned, the NYA, so that's the National Youth Agency, they are a national charity that is basically, I want to get this right, they're the representative body for the youth sector. They do a lot of work with government policy work. I think they contribute a lot to the training that's available for youth workers. They listen to the youth sector and make sure that appropriate training is available for youth workers. They've also recently started running the UK Youth Parliaments. They do a lot in Youth Voice as well. So they're a really big national stakeholder, and they've been working with UK Youth, which is another national charity, to put on some road shows around the country. So Nisha and I went to one in Nottingham, but they've done them in lots of different areas, so in the West Midlands, in the east of England, in London, in the southwest, all over the place, to engage the local sector and to bring national policy to our doorstep, because sometimes what gets talked about in the corridors of power doesn't always translate onto the street. And that's why it's amazing to have you here, Brother Haider, because I was like, me and Nisha talking again about sustainability this and funding that, and it's we sometimes get caught in our little silos of local government, don't we? We need to talk to real people, and even as people who pride ourselves as being relatively close to the beating heart of the city, but I think when the government turns round and says, we've got this funding and we want to do youth voice work and we want to find out from young people what you want. I'm from a generation where I didn't grow up with a lot of youth provision around, and if someone asked me when I was 11 to 19, what do you want? We've got some funding for youth opportunities. I wouldn't have a clue, because I can't say, I used to like that when they did that and they stopped it, because we didn't have that. And I agree with you, Nisha. I think it is important for young people to have a choice wherever possible, but you can't go to people with a blank page and say, what do you want? Because that's not productive.
I think also we forget that because the sector's so deflated, we're going to people that have, who've coached for all these years, but they haven't polished up like safeguarding, or these have been so not invested. That's why the youth pilot is quite good like that. We're putting on courses like safeguarding, how to bid right, things like this, so that we're kind of trying to motivate those volunteers that aren't even youth workers, that are doing the job of a youth worker, that are filling the gap in the community, to say, do you know what, you've got all the skill set, we just need to polish it up and put a certificate on it to formalise it. And that's what I look at it as, because the skills that a lot of they're not, like I said, they're not considered qualified youth workers, but with part of the pilot, we've said, with Romsey Mill, we want to train them, give them a level 2 qualification. So Eva and I are going to go on that as well. Like we go on.
I've already done it.
You've already done.
You dropped out.
I dropped out. Shush. It was Ramadan. I've got an excuse. But Cami, are you listening? It's your fault. Cami and I joined up. Cami from the masjid, and we had 2-3 more weeks left of it, and we dropped out. But we're going to go back on it. But that's the level 2. But what we're trying to do is it's called workforce development. So picking out people that are in the community and getting them to go on these courses, that in itself is quite hard.
It is. But you're completely right. It's just recognising skills that are already there a lot of the time, isn't it? Because you know what good youth work looks like. But sometimes having a qualification makes all the difference, and it means we're all on the same page. We're going to break for a short nasheed, and we will be back with you momentarily.
مرحبا يا خير دار رسول الله حبيب الله نبي الله شفيع الله شفيع call. You invited us all with honor and esteem. You bless Medina with your light, and now your nobleness and gentleness we will follow, 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 follow. Welcome in, welcome to you. Rasulullah وجب الشكر علينا ما دعا لله
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Community Connection with Eva and Nisha. We're only going to be with you for a short while longer, but this is the show where we talk all about what community means to people in Peterborough. And today we've been talking about youth opportunities in Peterborough. We've been reminiscing about what good youth work looks like. We've been talking about some of the ways that the needs of young people have changed. We've been talking about some of the exciting things that are happening in the funding landscape in terms of more funding being available for youth work. And we're here in the studio today with Brother Haider Ali from Result Training, talking about some of the work they do with forklift training, but also lots of other bits too. And Nisha, what's been your reflections? I guess we've done a good stock take of where we've come from and what some of the opportunities on the horizon are, but what do you feel needs to happen next to continue moving forward this agenda of opportunities for young people?
So I think the vehicle for sustainability has been the youth sector forum that's been set up by my colleagues in the City Council. So we invite all groups to come forward, not just the groups that got funded through the pilot, but other groups that are interested in youth work, and we're mapping basically contacts that of provision within the city. Now what that's done is that's created a invite list for us to invite these people to these regular breakfast clubs that I've mentioned, which is every fortnight at the Posh, very early. It's at 7:30 to 8:30. But that gives you an opportunity as a provider to see what's coming through, what other funding opportunities are there, because it's a partnership and you get other partners there that have information about what's coming through. what's on the horizon, send providers, special needs providers. So if that's your field of work, then I've got a couple of brothers that have approached me within the community to come and get involved because they want to do some outreach projects with send kids and kids with like behavioural challenges. So through that forum, I've put them in touch with other partners that have already done the work. So that's networking in itself, and that's what's going to build the I would say the keep the flow going, because after the pilot funding runs out, the forum is still going to be there. So these regular small meetings, although they can be a bit of a pain for people who are working full time, I understand that. These small regular meetings just means that you're still in the loop with what's happening with the sector. And then there's always opportunities that come out of networking, as you know. It's the same with businesses. So it's, if you've got a business network, I know a lot of people are doing the business network. It's the same thing for this sector, the voluntary sector. It works in the same way. So what I mean is it's not going to die after the pilot runs out on the 31st of July. We are talking about doing a trust. So it's called the YPF, I think it is.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that lots of other areas in the country have done to codify their, I guess, kind of youth sector. If you know what PCVS is, they're basically an umbrella charity that supports other charities that I'm also proud to be a trustee of. And a Young People's Foundation Trust, a YPF Trust, is a similar body that works with the youth sector, and there have been some exploratory conversations about that in Peterborough, haven't there?
So hopefully that will keep the sustainability going, because the whole point of the trust is to keep it relevant and keep us, the sector together, the youth forum, all the contacts that we've built, all the mapping that we've done to keep those organisations together as a part of the trust, and then keep the momentum going as and when the government feel it's right to inject the money into the city. So that's a level of sustainability, but obviously that's on a strategic level. But on a ground level, it's basically carrying on the work that I do with my communities manager hat on, to make sure that, like we said before, that the boxing sessions, if we can't run it for once a week, let's put it on for once a month still, and keep that momentum going, because we don't want to lose it.
Better than nothing.
Yeah.
And what about yourself, Brother Haider? What's on the horizon?
Yeah, so it's just like you was mentioning, it's all about consistency, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, if you can't do it once a week, do it once a month. Just staying active and just keeping on top of it.
And because you're here 3 times a week, I might get you into doing the boxing sessions with
of
your
course, why not?
cousin.
Yeah,
and,
you might not go to work the next day though. That's going to be the issue.
We might start seeing some boxing sessions in your lunch break.
You never know.
You never know. We've got to be creative here. But
there's a whole theory around co-location, isn't there? If you've got come for forklift training and stay for boxing, and the boxing might help you build transferable skills for other jobs. And I think there's a key message here about us all working together as youth sector providers, and just continuing to hold that torch as funding ebbs and flows. Nisha's spoken a lot about sustainability, and I guess we can't panic and think, what's going to happen when this funding dies. We've got to have faith that the good work will continue,
inshallah.
And there are people working to continue that.
But I just want to wish you all the best, because you're a pure example of someone who's done really well, who didn't necessarily go for the formal route. But thank you for coming to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
We've been very lucky to have you. We've been Community Connection with Eva and Nisha. We are back every other Tuesday, so we will see you on the 23rd at 7 p.m.